Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lokesh and today we'll be knowing about some programming paradigm. Have you ever felt lost while you have heard about object oriented or procedural or functional programming? Like you have must have heard these words somewhere either in college or if you are some following any tutorial, so you might have heard these words and you thought of like, okay, this is very hard and how to understand. You might have tried to understand, but it was hard to to uh, get the real world examples, and also with the code you are writing how these things are related. So in this video I will break down those things and you will get those three type of programming with real world examples and how it relates with your learning of any language. Like it could be any language, you will get understanding that how these things work and what these things are. Think of programming paradigm as different style of philosophy of writing code. They are like the rules of road when learning to drive. They shape how you think about solving problems. Also you see like, okay, how the driving skills are different in different roads. So those are the rules that a person needs to learn to drive. Once you understand the paradigm, once you understand these paradigms, learning any language, Python, JavaScript, Java, becomes way easier. You will start to see how code is structured, not just like memorizing the syntax. This is the example that you see that how procedural programming is like a step that, okay, you write printf. This is a C language code. So here how we write to print, okay, print hello world. Now in object oriented programming you see that there is Java language which follows object orientation, where anything needs to have a class, and then you can have the object of it and you can run any function of that, like methods of that object. So this is kind of object oriented programming. So where you see a process is followed, like only steps need a compiler or a computer. Let's suppose, take example that when you write a code and that computer understands, okay, you are giving me these instructions, I need to follow those only. Now let's suppose you want to give something more structured, and why we are giving so much importance to OOPS in interviews and also in real life in exams. You will understand when you go into companies, in organizations, where you will see how a big code base is written in order to scale, helps to hold the sanity of developers in large code base. And now here it is functional programming, which is taken from JavaScript, a functional style. However, you can also follow class structure in JavaScript, but it's more of common we can see a functional programming in JavaScript. That's why it is easy to learn. So here it is a greet, which is a kind of function which only returns this string, and this line of code just prints that. So you can have a very normal kind of looking in one line, you can have a function and here you can print it. So this was the functional programming. So in functional programming you will understand that one function is there which will do the same action whatever the input is. So if you give it a, like, if there is a string, like, okay, you're passing hello and it is combining world, so it will always give hello world. If you provide your name as, okay, Lokesh, then world, so it will come as Lokesh world. So it will follow the same function every time. So the function is for that. Okay, now we will see procedural programming. Here we can see that how we have those steps as written that, okay, the computer needs to follow these steps and you will have a T. So if you ask the like by writing a code, you will ask the computer that, okay, boil the water, add tea leaves and then pour milk in it, and you will have your tea ready. However, you have I have forgotten to add sugar right now. So this way you can give steps and it will follow. So it is very simple looking program that you will do, like, okay, boil the water, add tea leaves, add milk, now tea is ready, just serve it and drink it. So these are just steps that how we make food or any recipe. This is something like that. Now we will look into object oriented programming. So how it looks, we have already discussed that it looks like something as class is there, and then we will also have the main function which is using that. So here we have it is object oriented programming, very important as it focuses on class, objects, encapsulation, all those things. So for example, you will see how in the previous example we have seen it is steps. Here it is more kind of having a class which is kind of blueprint, then it goes into a factory which we call as constructor, and we keep replicating that blueprint and we will be producing cars. So on one single blueprint that the company has designed, now they are printing cars on that. So the functionality, the size, the tire, everything will be same for each car. Even they can go for differentiating the car features, but the main purpose, the main base of that car will be same, which is coming from class, like something like that will have brand, model, mileage. Also they have some functionalities as it could drive. Okay, so this is object oriented programming. So what is functional programming? So now, just now you have seen this drive is a function, so it will do that kind of work whenever it will be called. So whenever a driver comes and it drives, that car will drive. Now here it is kind of that whole code base will be of functional programming, that you write a function and you do that kind of task. Like here this is Python code, and earlier we saw example of JavaScript. Here we are having squares of that these array, and it will always return the square of that number. So this is functional programming. I know while we discuss all these three, it might not be easy to grasp everything in one go. Just let's have a revision what we have just read. Yeah, so we will see the procedural programming. So what it is? So it is more of kind, we can say, steps. When we write programming in simple steps, like an instruction that you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. So it is more of called procedural programming. Then what is oops? When we write a class which you can say is a blueprint, and then we make object of this, like real world things. Now you might be thinking why we are saying real world and this is blueprint. So if we take a real world example, then we can say a blueprint really, and when we are making building of that blueprint, that is a one example. Or we have a blueprint of car and we are making real cars. So that is one example. What is the example in code? So that is the thing you could be like more concerned about. So when we have a class, it has all the variables, all the functions, and when it doesn't store anything, it is just a blueprint. Then we create object of that. Means, for example, there is a student class. It defines everything, that student has roll number, name, and functionality as going to class, giving exam, scoring exam, these things. But this student doesn't exist. This is a rule that okay, a student needs to have these things, then he will be called as student. Then a new admission happens in that school. So then that child or kid will get these kind of properties. Then it will become that okay, this kid is now a student 1, student 2, something like that. So this is kind of real existing thing. Why real? So this will store data of real stuffs. So in object oriented we have. So here in object oriented programming, it will be class and it has object. This is the basic. We will be going more deep into OOPS later videos because it is very important, but for now this much is okay to know. Now here functional programming is there. In functional programming we have functions which performs some action, and here some other function may be calling this to get some resolution. So what it does, like let's suppose you have a big task to do and there are parts of thing like divided by this. Okay, this is 1 2 3 4 5 6. There is like these are the lands which needs to be cultivated for some food. So here needs to be grown wheat, here corn, and here something like rice. Now there will be one function which will have a parameter of which crop and land number, and this function will be responsible to cultivate. Here you will be just passing which crop needs to grow and which land needs to be taken for that crop cultivation. So this function will do that. You need not to be like looking into that function, that why it is doing that, how it is doing that. If you have called this function, this will do that thing and it will return that okay, it is completed or not. So this is functional programming, which could be seen in JavaScript, Python. It is not compulsory that these will only follow functional programming. This could also use class. It depends on the requirement. So if this video was helpful for you, it cleared your doubt, please hit the like button and also comment which programming language you are learning. Also comment if you have any doubt. I will cover that in the next video, and do not forget to subscribe this channel. Till then, okay, bye.